Are you ready?
Don't clap. Don't fucking clap. All right. My wife thinks we should. Matt, I can see you at the corner of my eye. My wife thinks we should allow our pets to share our bed, and I finally gave in. After a few minutes, our goldfish really settled down.
All right, welcome to episode 36 of Bros, Bumps, and Beers. I am the EST of Triple B, Pat Gagne, alongside Matt Tooties Gagne, and the producer, shirtless as always, Jordan, the Jackhammer Schofield. Gentlemen.
This is going to be real boozy.
Oh, that smells divine. Oh, you know what I need right now? A nice cold beer. Because you know what? It's fucking cold outside.
Yeah, it's I took old Herschel for a walk today, and the clothes and the jacket I usually wear did jack shit.
Is that a jacket joke?
No,
jack shit, jacket.
But it didn't.
Let me tell you
didn't
one
do that
thing.
either.
Alrighty, let's jump right into this. So if you're not from Winnipeg, there is a festival, yearly festival, Festival du Voyageur.
We weren't going to cover this.
This is the best thing ever, now that you mentioned a jacket. So Jordan, being from Toronto and being a stupid person, we went to Festival one day, and one year, it was us, James, shout out James, and a couple other people. Ryan was there as well. And we went, and Jordan, before we went, goes, "Hey, how do I dress for this?" I'm like, "Well, we're going to be outside. We're going to be hopping tent to tent." This was the first year that the festival was absolutely packed. So it was like almost impossible to get in any of the tents. So, normal people dressed for the weather, toques, scarves, mitts. Jordan shows up in a dress coat that is like ready for fall. No toque. I think he had leather mitts.
I don't go anywhere without leather mitts. I'm a very big driving gloves guy.
Looked like he was ready to go to the club. Like, oh, get in here. Coat check, off we go. We ended up not getting in any tents. We had to go to the outdoor bar, and all of us were having drinks, having a good time, dancing. Jordan has his fucking jacket zipped up to his nose. Somebody gave him a headband. He had it over his ears, and he sat around the fire. The most miserable prick I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god.
Fucking furious.
I was pretty upset. I trusted my friends to give me accurate advice, and I was led astray. I was bamboozled. All right. I was misled. I was hoodwinked. Okay. I can't remember how Stephen A says it. But that's one of the greatest clips of all time. Long story short, I asked Pat and James, and they were like, "Yeah, just go ahead. Like, we're going to be hopping tent to tent. There's heaters in the tent, and I thought, okay, fair enough. Like, I will just keep it moving. And I was lied to. I was led astray.
I would like to say, in Jordan's defense, I feel like this is an unnecessary and unprovoked assault.
Oh, it is. It's fucking.
But I am absolutely over the moon that you just.
Matt, I would like to return fire. Last week we told you we were going to tell you about when Pat ruined 2 WrestleManias, and I say I will not renege on my commitment to you, the listener. Matt, would you like to tell it, since he is your brother and therefore you share blood with his stupidity?
Before we start, I love that we had a whole other thing up.
Yeah, no, we're still going to get to it. We're not ruining the thing I want to talk about.
Full on assaults on each other.
You're an asshole.
We do need to tell the WrestleMania.
But okay, before we get to the WrestleMania story,
did you have this plan?
The best part. No, the best part.
You fucking ambushing motherfucker. That's what you are.
Even though Jordan was like, "We're gonna bounce from town to tent," it's still like many little nightclubs in that park. So you're gonna have to wait in line.
Tent to tent. We're walking.
Have you ever been there, Jordan?
No, I had never been before, Matt. I expected some fucking hell.
I feel a little bit more bad for him.
You can't tell how angry I am.
I feel a little bit more bad for him. I feel like you guys were shitty friends by not giving him.
We explained. You got to walk to the park. You have to walk to the tent. You have to wait in line. It was minus.
You did not explain that part.
Oh
That
my
did
God.
not get explained. I was told we will go tent to tent.
Waiting in line!
I will give you that you did not know how packed it would be. That was news to you. I will concede such things. But I was once again hoodwinked, bamboozled, and overall led astray for the hilarity and joy of my friends, and that is something I cannot forgive.
I will just say, I have the picture of Jordan zipped up all the way to
Sheer
his nose,
such rage.
engraved in my brain
So
for the
rage.
rest of my life, and I will tell that story at least once a year.
Back to what matters. I'm sure you can tell it at my wedding. Hardy har. Matt, back to what matters. Please tell us about how Pat ruined 2 WrestleManias because he doesn't know how to use a TV remote.
So, Pat, the first WrestleMania you ruined was at when you were still living at Mom and Dad's, correct?
First one I also attended.
Yes.
So
Yes,
that was
there-
great.
Yes.
So, yeah, the first one Jordan attended as well. So this was, I believe, WrestleMania 30.
It was Roman Reigns and
Triple H in the main event
event.
after Triple H had come in at 30 at the Royal Rumble and won the WWE title. So Pat is at my parents'. We always PVR'd half an hour more. That's what we always did.
That's what we
Okay.
did.
Okay.
But
So you're I'm out. That's my out.
Hold
No,
on,
you are
Pat.
not.
Let him finish,
You're not.
please.
we all get there. We tell, we're all like, oh, a couple guys are going to be there, 10, 15, 20 minutes late. Not a big deal. We're PVRing it. Now, in Pat's brain, he should have made the adjustments for this and actually extended it an hour. Call it an hour. He extended it a half an hour. We start watching, and then we realize with about an hour left that there's 4 matches left. There is not a chance we are going to see the end of this pay-per-view. There is not a chance that Pat recorded enough. Pat, in his haste, in his panic, checks to see if it's done. And it was done. So he could not even put it on live so we could watch the end on the network. Pat's answer to this, it was our fault. Because somebody was
fault.
late.
Everyone else's fault because someone else
late?
was late.
Everybody
Who was late? Who was late?
I can't remember. I think it was James.
It was you.
Probably.
You were late.
I
You
was
were
late.
You were late.
No.
Yeah,
I don't think I was late.
100%, Jordan. You know what? At the
I'm
end of
not
the
really
day-
a late guy.
At the end of the day, that first fuck up on recording WrestleMania was all of our fault. So I don't know why I'm getting pinpointed here.
You know
This
what?
is
Because
still-
it was your house. You were responsible.
Yeah. Now,
And the
Matt,
second
there was
one-
the second one. Yes, thank you.
The second one was, I believe, 2 years later. Pat was now in his house.
Yeah.
And we're watching.
A fucking
And-
grown-up, quote unquote.
Yeah, a grown up. And as I start telling this one, I realized it was less his fault,
This one was
But
less his
still-
fault. Yes.
but still his fault. His shitty internet, as we've all been privy to on
We've
this
seen it.
program,
Yeah.
cuts out right before the main event. So we actually have to, and I believe that was the Ronda Rousey main event, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. We have to watch that main event on Pat's phone
Yes.
because we went and scrambled and put it on his phone on the WWE network. So you had 4 grown men
The
huddled around
hamster
Patrick's
that
phone.
Pat uses to power his home, the one that he uses to turn the wheel and make some sort of Wi-Fi based electricity, must have needed a fucking water break because at that very moment, Pat's internet decided that it no longer needed to work. Of course, when we need it the most. Patrick, you
Once
have your
again-
hand raised.
Hold on.
Hold on, Matt.
Once
Continue.
again-
Thank you.
Pat does not take responsibility for this.
No, of course. Why would
blames
Pat take
everybody but him.
responsibility?
Whoa. Okay, let's get one thing straight. Both of you are digging real hard. Mostly Jordan digging. The first story, it sounds like we'll let the listener decide that none of that was my fault. WrestleMania went over like an hour and a half, which was unheard of at the time. The second time,
How come
I am
every
uncharged.
time Pat's
I am
wrong,
not
it's
done.
unheard of?
I
How come
was
every time
not-
Pat's wrong, Pat's like, you know what? I can't. This is unheard of. The sun
was.
came up today. We
It
have
was.
never seen that happen before.
And then the second story you guys told was not my fault. I don't control the internet. Sorry, I don't control the internet. Do I control the internet, Jordan?
You literally choose
Now,
the
to go
service
back
that
full
comes
circle
into
here,
your house.
To go back full circle. Jordan, did you have control over what clothing you wore to Festival?
Yes.
and you chose poorly. That's on you. The
May
other
I
two
counter
stories,
this?
not my fault.
I will counter this. When I chose my clothing, I got information from people I trusted, and those people lied to me. And in the end, that is my fault, but it doesn't mean that you are free and clear. When you chose the information, you accepted the information from the WWE network, you chose your internet, you took in the information, you analyzed it poorly, and therefore, it is your fault.
Matt,
Matthew?
your hand is raised.
I'd like to make one observation before we move on to Jordan's new obsession.
That being said, one of the best weeks of my life.
This past week or like the week of Festival?
This past week. No, Festival can...
Oh, okay.
So
Careful, careful.
Just
Sorry.
an observation. Just an observation. At this point, I'm realizing that both of these scenarios are basically not your faults.
Oh, wow.
Which ones are funnier? Which situations are funnier? I would say Jordan's.
Mine is funnier.
Jordan's is funnier because the visual of him with his jacket zipped up to his nose
Yes, but
is hilarious.
yours is
But
funnier for anyone
yours is
who
more
was
enraging.
there. Yes, and anyone
Yours I
who
will
was
never
there,
forgive you for.
Anyone who was there at one hand was enraged, on other hand knew that they had an opportunity to hold this over you forever. And I relish that opportunity.
Just to put this in perspective, Pat, I watched that WrestleMania a year later when I myself finally got the WWE network in my own household, and was like, "Huh, I thought I've seen this WrestleMania," and then I realized and got mad all over again a year later that
That's
I had
awesome.
not seen
Don't be
because
too
of
upset. It wasn't that good of WrestleMania.
Something
anyway.
like
it wasn't
something
that good at
about
all, but-
residual rage really warms my heart.
But anyways, okay. The dust is cleared or
Okay.
it's settled and then cleared.
Yes,
And
No,
Jordan
yeah,
still.
I think it's the same
But
thing.
Jordan,
I'm good.
tell us why this week was, or last week was the best week of your life.
I'm sure some of you expect us to talk about the Super Bowl. You watched it, deal with it. What really needs to happen?
I'll give you. Hold on, before Jordan goes, I'll give them the Coles Notes version on the Super Bowl.
Go ahead, Matt.
Tom Brady's amazing,
Yep.
and the weekend was meh. So continue.
Okay, I actually think that's fair.
And not the 2 days that we
Right.
just passed.
Right. The weekend with no E was with no
Yeah.
singular E. So this week, I wake up and I'm getting a breakfast ready. I'm getting everything
That's a
going,
good start.
and I get a text from a friend of mine. A friend of mine named Dan out in Toronto, lifelong friend, and he goes, "It's
Shout out, Dan.
finally happened." Now, that can mean one of three things with Dan. He
Is Dan one of them boys?
he's
The man dem. The
he's
man
one,
dem.
he's like arguably the man dem. So basically now that can mean one of two things, or three things. Two of them has to do with his girlfriend. One of them would be unexpected. One of them would not. And the third has to do with NCAA football, the game, returning to our lives. I want to share with you some things about the NCAA football game that you guys do not know. Now, at this point in time, Pat, I'm going to send you a photo that I would like you to put up on the internet on Wednesday when this podcast releases. I will also be sending this to your phones. This is elite podcasting, but it is important for you to see this visual. Now, a couple fun facts about the NCAA football game that I think you will find funny. One,
It's grossly overrated.
I will shoot you. In the NCAA football game, there was a mode essentially called something along the lines of Road to the Heisman.
What am I looking at right now?
Now, what you're looking at and what you will be looking at on Twitter is a collection of 6 photos. When you get to the school in this mode, you have the girl in the top left, a very homely girl, a girl that you would love back on your days on the farm. As your player does better and ascends the ranks of college football, he gets a better girlfriend on his wall.
No,
Yes.
that's horrible.
That is a understated. I believe that was NCAA football 06.
This is like, as someone who has a daughter, this is despicable. Like, this is awful.
This does not age well.
It is problematic. And I laugh because a lot of people didn't notice that. But I found it very curious and very funny, and something that would not fly today, that as you perform better,
Shouldn't have flied then.
apparently, you get a hotter girlfriend, according to NCAA football 06. Okay? Further to that, This is the first sports video game I've ever seen employ eugenics. Now, what is eugenics, you ask? When you go to the Heisman to play the game, your mom and dad get random traits, hobbies, and IQ. And that decides the overall skill of your players. So, your mom, potentially a rocket scientist track runner with an IQ of 105. Your dad, potentially a garbage man who likes collecting coins for like an 80 IQ. And if you don't like it, you press retry and it spools it all up again. So the first
this is 06?
I remember
that
this,
was 06 or 05. Further
is
to
that the last time this was made?
14 was the last one that was made.
Darnold Robinson. Denard Robinson was the last cover.
In Dynasty mode, your student or your players could commit infractions in one of the games, and you would get to choose how long you get to sit them down. Your student caught illegally selling merchandise? Maybe a season, maybe a quarter. Up to you. So if you have a shitty player, yeah, you ring them up. Your star quarterback gets hit doing something he shouldn't, maybe sit him down for a series. Finally,
so the NCAA didn't love this game?
Yeah, they okayed it. They okayed it.
You remember how how one of the baseball games back in the day had you being able to charge the mound, and then suddenly you couldn't anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is kind of like that, where there are some changes next year. And finally, my overall favorite thing that you don't know about NCAA football is there was a time where in the Road to the Heisman mode, you would have to answer questions like you were in class. Now, some of those questions, you could major in history. You can Google those answers, not too bad. There was also electrical engineering. Now,
why would you take that?
I want you to imagine 12, 13-year-old Jordan attempting to major in mathematics, for example. Or let's say you're younger than that. And let's say you're just like, hey, if I don't pass this class, I can't play. But we don't have Google. So how do you figure out U.S. history as a Canadian kid? You don't. So I missed games before. And Pat's on mute. He doesn't even know.
No, the dog is barking.
Got it. That is why my excitement level is so high. A game that did that, even if they did it and got told not to very quickly, is a game that absolutely warms my heart. And I cannot wait for 2 to 3 years when I am able to run roughshod with Ohio State in a video game once again.
I mean, if they bring that back, I'm hoping college basketball comes back. I'm hoping they bring back Fight Night, the boxing game. These are like some of my 3 favorite games of all time. Those fun facts you said, amazing.
Yes,
those are great. I was personally much more into the NCAA basketball than the football.
Yeah.
The basketball one had some questionable stuff as well.
Yes.
The last one I played. You again had to take classes, and that was always an interesting take because if you didn't pass, if you were good, they kind of just let it fly. So I mean,
it's accurate. Yeah.
It's totally accurate.
So it's accurate.
Very accurate.
I find the fact that you are excited to see what new debauchery is coming out somewhat concerning, Jordan.
But don't worry, it doesn't come out for like 2 years.
And
this isn't coming out like right away.
No. Which is a good thing because it means they're not taking the jackass Madden engine and just shoving college football into it. So I'm hoping they're building like a legitimately good game.
Yeah.
Because in college football, you have to account for actually a few different like mechanisms, like option has to be. So you have to actually be able to pitch the ball with some detail. So yeah, I mean, I hope it's good, but those reasons, I always got a really good chuckle out of them 10 years later, thinking about how that happened. I find EA Sports from the late 90s to the early-ish 2000s was pretty dicey.
Yeah.
Do you remember the game Bully? Do you remember the game Bully?
That was Rockstar.
Yeah, that's Rockstar.
And that was not EA Sports. That was published by EA, but I get what you're saying. Bully actually wasn't that bad. Like I played Bully, and it was nothing. Bully was nothing
compared to some of the other shit they put out.
Yeah.
It's not
so
bad.
Bully
was an elementary school kid.
Yeah, but
middle school kid.
Put in a tough situation. He was put in a tough situation.
Tough situation, right? But yeah, NCAA.
My goodness.
Welcome back. My excitement level is at I'd pre-order it now if I could. I don't even care if it sucks.
I'm gonna buy it. I'll buy it.
Oh, I would buy
100%.
it outright. And it was always fun to start at a school like Akron and work your way up.
Yeah.
It was a great. It's my favorite sports franchise of all time, and I can't wait for it to be
I'm
back.
so happy it's come back.
Me
So
too.
happy. But I'm very impressed. We started off by being very hostile towards each other. We ended with Jordan feeling very
And
dumb
then
about himself, and then moved to a new video game coming out. Matt, we were all there. We saw what happened. So
Yeah.
how about we, Matt? You have a very interesting beer that you're drinking tonight. Why don't you lead us off with some beer reviews?
Sure. I have gotten into I haven't gotten into it. I'm not the biggest like heavy stout fan, but I do find in my limited experience with them that if you leave them a little while, you cellar them, if you will, even if you leave them for a couple months, they do seem better. So I was gifted a fake news Russian Imperial Stout from Torque. This one's from November 2020. It was bottled in November.
Right.
So that would mean we're getting possibly about 3.5 months of cellaring or sitting. Now, for those of you listening who aren't really into stouts or don't really know what the Russian Imperial style is, basically it means it's an absolute bazooka. It comes in, it's usually a little bit bigger than a regular beer. This one's 500 ml. And it's usually somewhere in the range of 10+%. This one coming in at 10.
Oof.
So Star Beast from Sookrams is another one that's a heavy hitter. But this
doesn't
fake
come in a
news-
bottle though.
No, it does not. It comes in actually a short can. So the fake news, I'm always a little scared, a little skeptical when I grab these heavy stouts. And honestly, I have not been disappointed yet. So this one's rich, it's thick, very dark and very dark tasting. A lot of chocolate notes, little slight bitterness, almost from I guess hops, and it's boozy. It warms all the way down your throat into your chest, which honestly today wasn't that bad.
Not that bad.
So if you follow me on Untapped at Gagne Matt, I mean
Fuck, that came back rough.
Yeah, that audio was weird.
That's not great audio. I think Pat spiked
That was amazing.
Pat spiked his mic.
That's awesome.
Well,
but if you follow me on Untapped at Gagne Matt, I'm enjoying this, like 3.75 all day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. Honestly, I the more stouts I leave, or the more beers, period, that I leave to kind of cellar or sit, the more I'm realizing, like, if you can do it because it makes them better. Period.
that's a good point.
All right, Jordan, you go next because we've got that nice rotation, so you can get the beer news ready.
Pat, thank you very much. This week I have the Cus Word, a coffee dessert beer from Vessel. Artist on the can is Eric Dizon, I expect his name to say. Once again, very good looking can, typical from Vessel. So this is actually an interesting one. This is a white stout. So this is going to be lighter stout, should be more easy drinking. I will say something that I've noticed. If I'm going to review a beer, I've started buying at minimum 3 of them, and here's why. If I don't like drink it the first night or the first time, and if I have it on the podcast, I don't really land like in a good place with it. So I usually try to drink it a night or 2 before, and then have another one on the podcast and really like hammer down my rating. It's getting to the point where if people are going to be in the queue, potentially asking us, I should probably put a little fucking effort into it. So that's what I'm going to do. So what I'll say about the Cus Word is this is my usual stuff. Flavor, 100%. Like, this has that coffee flavor. It's not quite. I had a beer the other day that was very bitter on the finish, and that was very like black coffee to me, and that's not my cup of tea. It was actually it was the Kilter small batch, and I actually hated it because it was so bitter at the end. And this is not that. This is very like double, if you will, on the coffee front. So I actually like this quite a bit. I like the mouthfeel. It's very subtle. It's an easy drink. If you want that stout flavor but hate the weight, this is going to be your favorite beer. I'm going to give it a 3.75. It's not quite my elite tier, but I respect, again, originality in the city for what it did. I think the flavor's really strong. And I mean, I got to give like a tiny bump because the can just, it's again, that they're pushing kind of the basic limits of canning every time they do it, and they're helping local. So 3.75 for Cus Word. Patrick, over to you.
So I went to my favorite place. I went to Sookrams, and I got one of Jordan's least favorite things in the world. I got a silver can.
Oh God.
From Sookrams. And
with a white label.
You know what? I wanted to prove a point, and this is the first time I taste it, as it is a live taste test right now. Yeah. It is the Lemon Gose, which we have learned how to say in the last few.
Yeah, look at us. Look at us.
Look at us. Cultured, right?
Such growth.
As you know, Goses, they're very they have that lemony sour to it, a little bit of saltiness. This has all that, but it's all it's not overpowering. It's quite subtle. It's nice. The lemon speaks for itself, and it doesn't make you kind of get that, that sour face you get when you put too many sour soothers in your mouth. That's how I always describe it if it's a little too sour. And this is just easy drinking. It's a silver can from Sookrams. It is fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh, boy.
I bought 2 of them, and I am not disappointed. I got a nice order from them, and I've been drinking Sookrams for the last week and a half. Love it. Everything they put out, I love. I even have their coconut moon tower sitting in the fridge. That's the next one to come up for me that I'm going to try from them. This is just easy drinking. And when it's cold outside like this reminds me of a nice hot summer day that I'm outside on my patio drinking this.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Do you, is there a salty quality to it? I might have missed that.
There is a little bit, but it's very subtle, I find.
Okay.
That's good. I don't think you want it to be overpowering.
Yeah, it depends on the how tart it is. How tart it is. A lemon you're probably okay, but I find like stuff that's a little bit more tart. I find upping the salt quality balances a little bit more. But if you're saying it's not like pucker your face tart, you're good.
I mean, like, let's get one thing straight. I mean, if you drink it, you probably have a different take than I do. Maybe I'm completely fucking wrong, but I love it, and I think it's really good. So you know what? Let's make it a hat trick. Sookrams, Lemon Gose. Follow me on Untapped at Pat Gagne. I'm giving it a 3.75 out of 5. Real solid
your
work by
reaction and your rating don't line up.
They don't line up.
No, you know what it is? You know what it is? I say it's really fucking good, and then I think back to the boysenberry sour, and I pull it back a little bit. I'm scaling.
That's good. I'm glad you're finally scaling.
Maybe old Pat would have given it like a 4.5, but yes.
Are you rating it a little lower because you don't think it has maybe the sessionability of other stuff?
Yeah, maybe. I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say. Yeah, I would agree.
You're not gonna sit there and drink 6 of those.
No, I'll drink the 2 I have, and I'll be very happy with that.
Yeah.
So quick recap. We had a quick hat trick here tonight of 3.75s across the board. Matt had the fake news from Torque. Jordan had the Cus Word from Vessel, and I had the Lemon Gose test batch from Sookrams. You can follow us all on Untapped at Pat Gagne, at Gagne Matt with 2 T's, and at JSco55. And now we go to Jordan for the Winnipeg Be a News of the Week.
Thank you, Patrick.
That we got some good ratings back in there because we had a couple weeks there. We had about 3-4 weeks there where it was rough. Somebody was rating something. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jordan. Sorry.
It's okay. I definitely, I came out swinging a few times the last few weeks. So I feel like that's tough. So let's start off. Last Tuesday, Kilter came out with, and I love this, their stonks test batches. As someone who missed the GME train because he didn't have his money in an active position, I am sad. However, that's okay. Kilter apparently, according to them, was up 420.69% by releasing these beers. I don't know how they came up with that, but it was a strong coffee stout and a short squeeze, which I actually preferred, which is a double dry hopped tropical punch sour ale. Those are gone now, but just to let you know what happened. We talked about the Cus Word. We talked about the Lemon Gose. Now we have non-such beer. This is one that I am excited for, I gotta say. A blueberry ginger sour. Yeah, a blueberry ginger sour. This has a lot of potential. As someone, this will be interesting for me because I like ginger beer, but I don't think they're going the ginger beer route. So I don't think so. So it's going to be curious. I'm going to this is one that's going to be an interesting review for me. Non-Such has the aged in bourbon barrels, a small batch of the 2020 Belgian Pecan. Frankly, that is a Jordan beer. That is right up my alley. So I'm going to have to make sure I grab that. Stone Angel has the barrel aged series, the Highlander Wee Heavy, aged in barrels. You know what they say about the Highlander, folks? There can only be one. And finally, Sookrams is brewing something tropical. Tropical beers. It's another one. Hopefully it's good. I don't know what else to say. It's not much to it. And then the beer news will start. Oh, Matt just wrote that. The beer news will start here next week. But that concludes the Winnipeg beer news of the week. Pat, back to you in the studio.
Before we cap things off, I would just like to do a special shout out to whoever makes the chalkboard signs at Sookrams. I forgot to read this out. They had a sign and it said, "If we sell out of our Friday text batch, that's the way she goes." That's good shit.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Shit.
As someone who likes a good dad joke, I appreciate that.
So yes, we're gonna put a little cap on that. What we have next for you, we have our wet breads and rocket ship, but I would like for everyone to give our last new segment a chance. This will be something new, a little teaser for you. Jump towards it. You'll see it in the explanation. Something new that we're trying. Hopefully it's good. We're going to give it a fair shake with a couple of tries. I'm very excited for it. It's kind of my baby, and I'm hoping that you enjoy it. All wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans alike, I think, could jump in and really enjoy it. So we'll be right back with a little bit of wet breads and rocket ships. Welcome back.
I know you like that.
Oh, there you go. Get it, Jordan. Get it.
Jordan without a shirt on dancing right now is life.
Something else.
It's so hot in the den of the condo. It's like a sauna. So I just pretty much go like strip down to the skivvies.
Alrighty. So
you're wearing underwear though, right?
Yeah, that's what skivvies are, man. Figure it out.
Wow.
I knew that, but I just was like checking.
Yeah.
By the way, I finished that beer and
you're buzzed today.
Oh.
Oh Jesus, here we go.
Let's go.
All right. So so we're kind of now back to normal in wrestling world. We don't really have anything. We're gonna get to Elimination Chamber, obviously. AEW had Beach Break, which didn't really understand the name of that fucking thing, but it's a good show. So we're gonna come back with the wet breads and rocket ships. Matt, what did we talk about?
No honorable mentions. Just pick one red wet bread and one rocket ship and go with it.
All right. So Matt, I will start with you.
So fucking proud of you, Matt.
Matt, I'll let you decide.
I'm
Are we gonna start with positive or negative today?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, that is your name. Yes.
Hate you guys. Let's go negative and end on a positive note.
I like it. Okay. Matt, what was your wet bread of the week?
My wet bread of the week. And it's something that continued today and kind of jogged my memory. I watched it last week. I watched it at the Royal Rumble, and I was like, "This sucks, donkey ass." The Lacey Evans, Ric Flair,
Jesus
and
Christ,
Charlotte storyline. Take that, chew it up, spit it out, and leave it on the ground wherever you spit it, because I don't want it anymore. It's like bad gum. It's like Thrills gum. You know those gum that tastes like soap.
Yeah,
that's what that storyline is.
Ouch.
I hate it.
Yeah, now it's like they're not like in a relationship. She just is. He's her mentor, and he's guiding her. And honestly, I love Ric Flair. I'm a big Ric Flair guy. He looks awful.
He did not look good.
No,
Nope,
he looks like age is running roughshod on him.
Yeah, like he got sick there a little while ago, and now he's come back, and it just. Somebody's got to tell Rick to stop. It's just he doesn't need to be there anymore.
For a guy that didn't age for about 20 years, he's aged 20 years in both.
I'm pretty worried that this is going to be a when he stops situation.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why he's not stopping.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, hey, if this is what keeps him going, who am I to say? He's Ric Flair. Let him do whatever the hell he wants.
True.
As long as he doesn't have a match. No more matches, for the love of God.
If he has a match, he's going to perish.
Great word.
Yeah, literally no other way to put it.
Yeah,
and I feel like Matt, like they're just taking Lacey Evans and Charlotte, and they're like, okay, Charlotte can really elevate Lacey Evans.
You're Charlotte light.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah.
You can't tell me Vince isn't looking at that and going, "You're a blonde. You're a blonde. You should work together."
But you're Southern, so you
Yeah,
can
you're-
be Charlotte, but
you're
from the
s-
South.
Yeah, except Charlotte Hill's from North Carolina,
You know,
Exactly, which is Southern.
which is Southern.
I thought about it. You know who Lacey Evans is to Vince?
Oh boy,
The Lex Express.
Yeah,
Lex Luger.
100%.
Yeah, he thinks
Yeah.
she's his Lex Luger that he can do right this time, and it's just the same. She's good, but she's
If
not.
you're
what
coming
she
in
thinks.
as a wrestler in the WWE, all you have to do is remind Vince of someone from the past,
Yeah,
and
pretty
you're
much.
golden.
Yeah.
That's all you got to
Yes.
do. It's not rocket
That's why a lot of
science.
these unique guys aren't getting maybe.
aren't getting a push because Vince is like, I don't understand it.
All right,
Yeah.
Jordan,
He's
your
not
wet bread
Southern.
of the week.
Bit of a curveball here. I actually could not find a wet bread this week. I
Wow.
mostly
Come on,
like.
you want mine? You want my other one?
This was where I'm going. I'm going to cede my second wet bread to Matt because there was nothing. Again, I only watch AEW and NXT. And overall, I liked what I saw on both shows. There really wasn't anything. And yeah, this was the week where Pat's like, pick one. And I'm looking at my rocket ships and I have 4 things. And I'm like, well, fuck me. I guess I got to figure it out. So, Matt, if you can give an extra shot, you want to throw an extra elbow, go ahead.
So the one I had written down, the second one I had written down, I think you mentioned something at the Royal Rumble that I want to remind you of, and that might be your wet bread.
Oh, boy. Okay.
It's 2 words: Bad Bunny.
Yeah, no, you're right. Thank you very much. That is shit out loud. I'm sure the Latino market liked it. That's great for them. It was just as bad as Snoop Dogg's spot. It was worse,
He's going
actually.
to have a match.
Yeah, no, it was terrible.
He's training right now.
It was outright terrible. I could give less of a shit who that person is. I hope when he gets in the ring, he has the worst match of all time. I wish nothing but bad things for him in WWE.
Wow.
Total.
We all watch
a
a certain trivia show that I'm not going to plug unless they put us on it. But Bad Bunny is always on these lists of like the top 25 downloaded artists on Spotify.
I don't know.
And
It's
every time-
insane.
Him and Triple X Tenacious or whatever, like those
Triple
guys,
X Tentacion.
whatever the guy's name is. I mean, those guys could be real people or fake people, and I wouldn't know. Until
think
Bad
one's
Bunny
dead.
walked out, I
Isn't
thought
one
he was
dead?
an actual bunny.
I was gonna actually ask Matt if he was gonna see Triple X Tentacion to see if he knew he was dead, but you ruined
He's
it.
dead?
He
He's
died
dead.
pretty tragically. He got shot
Yeah.
in his front driveway.
And they keep just releasing his music.
Well, no, I
Don't
a
feel
little bit
bad, Matt. It
You
doesn't.
didn't know?
You pretty much said he was super popular. So sorry.
Incredibly popular, apparently.
Yeah,
And I've never heard of the guy.
like
I
imagine
didn't know he was
that's
dead.
not offensive. Like, hey,
I didn't know he perished.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know he's dead. And apparently, people like his music if you're under the age of 18 and have a pulse for some reason. So,
All right. So I'll finish things out with the wet breads. I went to AEW, and Beach Break I think was a really good show. The one thing I disliked about Beach Break, and it might come as a shock,
don't you do this.
the AEW wedding. Their
Yes,
first
that's
wedding.
why I didn't give that one to Jordan.
That's fine. That's fine.
You know what? I think Penelope Ford is a star. I think she can get better in the ring. I think she got the look. She got the charisma. I think she could be something. Kip Sabian could be
Hot
that.
garbage.
I think Kip Sabian could be a mid-carder if everything's done right. He can work. Miro, I think, is not long for this storyline. I think he could go do bigger and better things, but I need them to fast track that because he's kind of just sitting there doing nothing. But the wedding itself, it was actually a legit wedding. They actually got married, right?
Not on air.
Yeah, they did.
That's unreal.
That
Good
was
for
real.
them.
That was real. I
They're
looked into
actually
it.
together?
Could they
Yeah.
not find a softer
Kip
cake?
Sabian. Kip Sabian.
Matt,
Like, did they
Matt,
leave
Kate.
that cake in the freezer? Like, she hit that thing. I'm surprised she
Yeah.
doesn't have a concussion.
So Matt, just a fun fact: Penelope Ford was dating Joey Janela, which is hilarious.
That's amazing.
And now she's with Kip Sabian, and now they all work together, which is hilarious. And there was a picture of Joey Janela backstage with watching the wedding. And they
Okay,
took a
that's what it
picture.
was. I didn't
Yeah.
understand that picture.
Joey
Yeah.
Janela must have a hell of a personality because the person he's dating right now
Yeah.
is
So yeah, it was just a very predictable wedding. It's a wrestling wedding, so you got to kind of do something different.
There will be
Didn't
no
really see it.
shenanigans.
Face in the cake. Orange Cassidy comes out. I'm over this Orange Cassidy and Miro thing and Kip Sabian. I'm just not into it. kind of fell flat. It's kind of over, but I guess you can't really move on because Trent's gone for a little bit. Yeah, it didn't do it for me. It's on a week of really good wrestling. It was kind of a fart in church and wasn't really that great.
I agree with that.
All right, Matt. So positivity. You're rocket ship, Matthew.
I'm bringing it. I'm bringing positivity to the house right now. I would like to, before I start, request an honorable mention if nobody takes mine at the end.
Sure, but it's got to be quick.
Okay, it will be quick. It'll be.
I knew there'd be an asterisk with us telling you this, so I will accept that. I accept that.
Just can't do it. Just can't do it.
He can't help himself.
My rocket ship. I'll go quick on my rocket ship. Edge in all 3 shows. I thought he elevated all 3 shows. You're welcome. I thought him on NXT was the best of the 3, and he was very strong on the 2 other ones. Him on NXT, standing there with Pete Dunne and Finn Balor, made me think, oh my God, I want this match, and I didn't know I wanted
eyeing up Karrion Kross.
Oh, and then him eyeing up Karrion Kross, I was like, just put Edge on NXT.
This is why everyone on the internet who bitched about Edge winning the Royal Rumble is so dead wrong. The guy comes in, and everything seems bigger.
If you don't like Edge, you can just stop watching wrestling.
I loved this promo. It was clear that they just told him to go out there and talk from the heart.
Yeah.
I loved when he said, what I love about this show is it focuses more on the second W and not the E, which we focus on too much. And I took me a second because I was like, NXT doesn't have a W. So Edge, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, world rep. And that's when I was like, that's a great way to describe why I like NXT, actually. Like, he said it. I was like, yeah, because wrestling is entertainment for me. And yeah. Matt, that was awesome. That was a great pick.
Thanks, man.
Is it me now? Is that why you guys are just staring at me?
Okay. Do you actually have something to say this time?
I do. I have 1.25 things to say. My 0.25, Kenta. Let's fucking go.
Oh, I was not a big Kenta fan.
Don't worry. Let's
NXT.
go.
That wasn't him. That wasn't him.
That wasn't him. This is him. My rocket ship of the week is the Jake Roberts punch on AEW. It was by far my favorite thing I saw in wrestling this week. Jake Roberts threw a punch this week that definitely didn't land short. Let's put it that way. Jake threw it, lost his balance, clocked the guy, landed on top of him and rolled off. And my favorite part was after rolling off, he reached over with a big smile on his face and gave him 2 slaps on the ass to say sorry and thank you right on camera. And I must have rewound that 5 times. That is easily the rocket ship of the week. Jake Roberts with a big smile in his head going, holy fuck, did I botch that one? And giving the guy 2 pats on the ass all within 3 seconds.
Amazing. It was just, sweaty Jake Roberts is my favorite thing.
The guy got punched by Jake Roberts. What's he going to tell all his friends? Man, Jake Roberts fucking stiffed me.
Oh my God. Like the smile after is what made it. Because Jake was like, oh fuck, did I mess that one up? I'll give this guy a little thank you note for taking that. It was great. Pat, go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna break the rule. Quick honorable mention.
We've all broke it.
Thunder Rosa against Britt Baker was the best women's match on AEW in the longest time. It was fantastic.
Solid.
But I'm gonna go with women again. I'm gonna stick in AEW. I have never seen her.
I got so excited.
I have never seen her wrestle. I don't know any of her work. I'm going by vignettes and promos.
Pat's so high on Jade Cargill.
Jade Cargill.
Is that an 80-pound dumbbell, by the way? Because that's amazing.
She is, I'm going to say it, a fucking wagon. She is coming in so hot. She is coming in against Cody. Shaq's coming into the match, and I don't even give a shit. She is the main attraction of that tag team match that's coming up. The fact that Cody wants her in the match, Cody's going to make her look good. And I don't think she even needs Cody to make her look good. I think in a year, Jade Cargill is going to be on the same level as Charlotte. If the first match goes right and she looks that good, she's Charlotte right away. And she's an instant
I think
draw.
she's going to need more seasoning, but I get what you're saying. I think she's maybe a little more in the Ronda realm.
That's where I was
going to say. We'll see. Pat, that's an awesome pick. Since you got to do it extra, I'm going to really quickly do one. The first the women's tag team match, the first one from NXT was one of the best women's tag team matches I've seen in my life. I absolutely loved it. That is all. That was my third.
Shouldn't have fast forwarded it. is what you're saying.
No, Matt, it was
No,
really good.
it's
It's
good.
worth going
It's
back
good.
and watching.
I'll go back and watch it.
Gonzalez is she's gonna outkick her what I thought her coverage was. She can really work.
Oh,
She
on
gets better-
NXT you're talking.
Yeah.
On NXT.
She gets better.
Oh, I thought you said okay,
Gonzalez and Dakota against Kat Gargonzola, I don't know what the fucking name is. And the lady with green eyes. Those four put on a match I did not expect. Like I had it on in the corner of my eye making dinner and I stopped and watched it. It really caught me off guard.
Gonzalez gets better every time she goes in the ring.
Yeah, she's talented. Like her and Rhea spent a lot. I just know from their Instagram, they spent like a bunch of time tagging together, and those two could end up being some of the best things NXT's put together in a bit.
Can I do mine now? My extra?
And then we'll stop because we broke every rule that we made before.
Yeah, that's okay. That's why people listen to this because we just break the rules.
Yeah, we're fucking
we're bad
renegades,
boys.
baby.
Bad boys.
Renegades, outlaws.
For those of you who have the WWE, I'm going to restart that word.
What was that, Elmer Fudd?
For those of you that have the WWE network.
Me too now. I bought it. I'm in.
For you.
Go back. I thought you were going to get rid of it, Jordan. You can't, eh? You're addicted.
I think I'm just going to forget. That's kind of what happens.
Yeah.
I'm paying for things I haven't used in like 5 years because of that.
Well, you'll use this. Go and watch the Yokozuna icons.
Oh,
I thought it was very good.
God.
Unreal.
I thought it was very good.
So
and
good.
WWE, if WWE does something well, they do documentaries well. I watched the APA Untold as
Yeah,
well.
that was good
also
too.
fantastic. Really, everything they do from a documentary standpoint, you could put that on Netflix, and even non-wrestling fans, I think, could get into it.
That Instagram clip of him ending a man's life came across my timeline again, and every time I see it, I can't unsee it. It makes me cringe. It's unbelievable. Patrick?
All right, guys. So congratulations. We broke all the rules. But you know what? It was good week. It was a good week of wrestling. I enjoyed it. Great takes. Jade Cargill going to be the next big thing. Speaking of which, did you see that guy who looks like Brock Lesnar that the WWE signed to a developmental contract?
I don't think he looks that much like Brock. No, he's not yoked. He's just big.
He was almost my wet bread, but continue.
Wow.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. So we'll leave it there. And when we come back, new segment. Jordan, what are we calling it? Do you remember?
You didn't even tell me what it was brilliant. So this is on you.
Jordan brought this up.
Lite Side of the ring.
The Lite Side of the ring. And it's spelt like Lite. Brilliant.
Like Miller Lite.
Listen, you think this producer salary doesn't get earned? Come on.
Oh, Michael, this is going to be fun to watch.
All right, welcome. Our brand new segment, aptly named by Jordan, even though he doesn't really know what it's about, The Light Side of the Ring. You do know that there's a documentary series, I hope, that was put out by Vice called The Dark Side of the Ring. I wanted to go kind of a little different way. I wanted to kind of shed light on the funner side of wrestling, the more intriguing parts, more intriguing stories of wrestling.
Did you say funner?
Funner. It's much more funner.
It's a word.
Yeah. So I wanted to just kind of tell stories and let people know. I wanted to appeal to wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans. My mother-in-law listens to this podcast, and I would like her to be interested in this and just kind of be invested. So that was my
and
kind
not
of my
think you're a huge nerd.
Exactly. Which too late. Married your daughter. Tough break. So anyway, so I wanted to start with kind of something a little lighter, something that could be a little more fun. So first off, everyone always wants to say who don't watch wrestling, that wrestling is fake. It's not real. It's just male soap opera and nobody's really getting hurt, which is completely false. And I hope that when we do this segment, it will show it. It is scripted. It is not a true sport. There is athletic ability, but it's not based on that. It's not based on
sport.
You could be the most athletic.
It's not a sport.
Well, we can get into that another day. It's sports entertainment.
Fucking derail. It's wrestling. It's its own category. Stop putting it in
I
other
agree.
boxes.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. It's wrestling. It's pro wrestling.
So let's start with that. Let's go with. I wanted to talk about the tough side of wrestling, the tougher guys in wrestling. I'm going to talk about somebody very specifically in a little bit, but I want to kind of set the table. So when I talk about tough guys in wrestling, let's give a couple examples. I mean, the first one that comes to mind, he's kind of mainstream. He has an Olympic gold medal, Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle's a legitimate.
He's a legitimate.
He beat Brock Lesnar in a wrestling match, like an amateur wrestling match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So Kurt Angle is well known for winning an Olympic gold medal, like he says in all his promos, with a broken freaking neck.
Kurt Angle also if I can cut you off,
Yeah,
Kurt Angle
absolutely.
also, if he had come along 5 years later, probably could have been a MMA champion.
I would be shocked if he went into the WWE. Even though he was a natural for it, we would have missed out on a lot of great moments. I think he would have been an MMA guy and probably a really good
for
one.
sure. And I think he's even admitted to that himself.
Yeah.
So now if we go back to the broken freaking neck, the true nature of the injury, if you go back and you look it up, and he said this, doctors have verified it. The injury was he had a severe neck injury. He had two fractured cervical vertebrae. He had
Insane.
two herniated discs and 4 extremely terribly pulled muscles in his neck.
So think of the last time you slept wrong and called in sick for work.
He had that times 100 and then went on to face Olympic caliber wrestlers at the Olympics.
He was injected with liquid Vicodin.
Now let's get one thing straight here. To add to the story, it wasn't like he did the trials and then went to the Olympics right away. He broke his neck and then the Olympics were 5 months away.
So he trained for 5 months.
Trained and he was in severe pain. Took some strong but very legal pain medication that was okayed by the International Olympic Committee, and ended up beating one of the top, I think he was a Russian wrestler in the Olympic final.
I believe he was Russian. Yes, I think you're correct.
With a broken neck, he did this.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
I mean, the neck injury plagued him for the rest of his career. I believe he says he broke his neck another 2 times. Wild.
I mean, he can't turn his neck anymore. Like when he looks at someone, he has to rotate his whole body.
You want to see something funny but yet sad? Go watch Kurt Angle try to look at a bird in the sky.
Right? He turns his whole body now. So now we can get to someone else. Now
he rotates like a telescope.
That's a well-known one. That's a well-known tough guy in wrestling. Next, let's go to Perry Saturn. Now, Perry Saturn
Perry looks like a fucking guy.
But Perry has been through a lot. He has a lot of CTE. He was homeless for a while. Chris Jericho brought him out of that. But let's get one thing straight. So here's a story that Chris
Jericho, good guy.
I don't even know if Matt and Jordan have heard this story. Okay. So the story goes, I'm not going to say the year because you'll understand that wrestlers tell a story, it gets changed, and then the year kind of gets lost. It
doesn't matter.
No, yeah, the year's inconsequential unless something has to happen that gives you.
Now look him up. Perry Saturn looks like a badass. You look him up, tattooed head to toe, bald, built like a brick shithouse.
Big time biker vibes with Perry Saturn.
Absolutely,
yeah, big time
biker vibes.
As the story goes, he was driving around with his girlfriend at the time. They were both driving to work when he spotted 2 guys on the side of the road assaulting a young woman. Seeing that she was in danger, Saturn pulled over abruptly and attacked both men. 1 man against 2. He saved the young lady's
Saturn,
life.
by the way, is not that big.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's a tough SOB, as you'll see. So he saved the young woman's life. During this altercation, something happened. He wasn't injured in the fight. Perry Saturn was shot twice. He was shot.
This story.
He was shot twice. However, when the cops finally showed up, Perry Saturn refused to go to the hospital. The cops were kind of like, "Hey, man, like you should go to the hospital. Like,
dude, you got shot twice.
You're pretty hurt." The thing was, Perry Saturn hadn't realized he had been shot.
Adrenaline
twice.
Is a hell of a thing.
And I quote, he claims he thought he was merely just punched in the right spot.
What?
So yeah,
Christ.
Perry Saturn shot.
Fake.
Yeah, saved a woman's life. Shot twice. Oh, it's okay. I'll go to the doctor later. It's all good.
I got punched in the right spot, guys. Just chill.
A bit of a stinger. He's like, that's a little numb.
So my last story before I get to the main event of our Lite Side of the ring is a famous story. I believe Matt knows it. Jordan, I would 50-50 shot. You'll know it.
Okay, we'll see. I'm interested.
Big Van Vader.
Ooh, I know myself some Vader.
Oh.
Finished his book recently. Vader was big in Japan. He came to the States, was big in WCW. Didn't have such a great run in WWE.
But Shawn Michaels didn't like him.
This story comes from Japan. Now, this is Vader. He was huge in Japan. He was wrestling another huge star in Japan, Stan Hansen, who is
blind as a bat.
Blind as a bat without his glasses. Legally can almost not drive without glasses. Now, he's a notorious tough guy as well. So they both got in the ring. And what happens in Japan? Jordan's favorite style, very strong style, very, throwing some hammers out there, some live rounds, really getting shots. So this is in 1990, the year I was born. So the two began a very intense match, and how they usually started their matches all the time, throwing potatoes at each other. Absolute bombs, real shots.
What is a potato? Are those fake punches?
It's your laptop camera.
Yeah.
My potato camera.
So what happened was, knowing that he had notoriously bad sight, Stan Hansen was basically swinging. His trademark is he swings a cowbell around his head. And during the live rounds, he swung the cowbell and abruptly hit Vader in the side of the head.
Jesus.
Broke his nose, actually. But that wasn't the end. This is what he finished the match after this, but that wasn't the end of the severe injuries.
Broke his nose and...
Well, we're getting there. So Vader flips and basically attacks Stan, throwing even more bombs. So what does Stan do?
FYI, Vader, 6'4", 370 pounds.
Just a monster.
Safely called a unit.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Safely.
So Stan, being blind as a bat, not really being able to see Vader, starts throwing bombs back because, you got to protect yourself.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
During this exchange, Vader, who was just recently hit in the side of the head with a cowbell, is poked in the eye. No biggie, right? Incorrect. Well, he actually pokes Vader's eye out of its socket.
Oh, that's gross.
It's hanging.
It was hanging there for a few seconds. And
it's fake, though.
you would think, end of the match. No. Vader, with a dirty hand, who Vader notoriously didn't shower, didn't clean his ring gear, wore gloves, abruptly took his eye and put it back in the socket. And after it was swollen shut, he finished the match.
Doctors told him he probably would have lost his eye if it had not have swollen shut. That held it into place.
Yes.
But wrestling's fake, guys.
Super
Wrestling's fake.
What the shit?
And now, gentlemen, for the main event of Tough Guys in Wrestling.
This has to be one person, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jordan, who is
possibly.
it?
There's two people. Okay, you know what? There's Bruiser Brody.
Okay.
There's also New Jack.
It is neither of those men.
No, it's not New Jack?
Jordan, it's the actual toughest man ever to grace a wrestling.
Okay. All right.
So he is known by many names. His real name is, let me get this correct, Tonga Fafita.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, sorry.
So he was known by...
If he's listening, I humbly apologize. Please don't find me.
In WWF, he was known as Haku.
Please don't find me. Oh,
and as in other incarnations of WCW, he was known as Meng.
Meng.
M-E-N-G. Meng. So he is universally known. Vader says it. Everyone says it. Haku, I will refer to him as Haku, is the toughest man in wrestling.
Pat, I'm just going to cut you off real quick. So if you go down, and I know guys who are not wrestling fans who have gone down wrestling rabbit holes.
Mm-hmm.
If you go down wrestling rabbit holes, Andre the Giant, monster, incredible strength, great drinker. Andre the Giant was scared of only two people. He is quoted as saying he's only been scared of two people in his life. Harley Race, another classic tough guy in wrestling, and Haku. Him and Haku would have torn up some bars. That's all I'm going to say. Go ahead, Pat.
So Haku, if you're curious, worked for Japan, had a very long stint of 6 years in WWF where he was King Haku, was part of the Islanders, wrestled Hulk Hogan, Harley Race, a who's who. He was all over the place. Then he started a tag team, the Colossal Connection with Andre the Giant, came tag champs, went to WCW, kind of meh. He was the WCW Hardcore Champion.
Oh, Meng. No, Meng.
He was Meng at that time. And now he's kind of settled back into Japan, where he's a part of the Bullet Club and is a member of the Firing Squad. So Jordan knows him well, which is why Jordan is actually scared of the man.
I have no desire to speak ill of the man, no.
So a couple of fun quotes. Arn Anderson, a notorious wrestling tough guy, would say, bar none, the toughest wrestler I've ever faced was Haku.
Jesus.
Perry Saturn, who a little while ago I told you was shot twice and didn't notice, would go on to say Haku would win a fight against pretty much anybody. Nobody else would stand a chance, not even a question. He could kill everyone without blinking, and there is nothing anyone could do about it. A guy who was shot twice said this.
Pat, I hope you're getting into the 3 stories I hope you're going to
I'm probably going to tell you one more that you might not know. There was also a famous French-Canadian manager, Frenchie, who would go on to say, if you have the choice between going to hell or dealing with Haku, choose hell.
Is this was this a work? Like, it's almost like they're putting him over as being so tough.
Now, Jordan,
I'm curious.
going to tell you some stories, and you can make.
I know I said I wasn't going to disparage Haku, and I don't believe I am, but I do believe this question should be broached, if you will.
I think you'd be doing a disservice to our listeners if you didn't ask that question, because a lot of people are going to be like, "Hey, like he's a wrestler. Who gives a shit?"
So Pat's stories are going to have to hit the mark here.
And we'll get. You know what? You give me your take at the end of them.
Okay.
Now, one of the more tamer stories in wrestling folklore is Haku noticed that somebody was talking shit to him in a bar at one point, and Haku actually went up to the young man, took 2 fingers, placed them in the young man's mouth, and with his 2 fingers pulled out the man's 2 front teeth.
Fuck that. No, he didn't. That's bullshit.
If the guy bites down on your fingers and you rip, it's entirely possible.
That is fucking gross.
Why would you put your fingers in somebody's mouth? Or how could you withstand somebody biting your fingers? I don't know.
That's unbelievable.
And the next little story is Haku is known as the locker room enforcer. Kevin Sullivan, who is, if you've seen his storytelling, painfully tells the truth about everything. And Kevin Sullivan was the booker. He would decide the matches, the outcomes, and wrestling is scripted. So you need everybody to be on the same page. Whenever a wrestler would say to Kevin Sullivan, nah, doesn't work for me, not going to lose to that guy. Instead of Kevin dealing with the guy civilly, he would go and talk to Haku and say, hey, why don't you go pay him a visit? Usually a lot of bad things happen in wrestling in locker room showers, meaning violence. And there is a story of him grabbing multiple people by the neck.
Verbal meme. The 2 arms clasp on one side, wrestling showers, and on the other side, prison showers, and below, bad things happening. That concludes my verbal meme.
I will make that meme and put
it
on
please.
Instagram.
I appreciate that very much.
So Kevin Sullivan said that anytime Haku talked to someone for him, his tune would change. So is he a little scary? Is he a little tough? I'll let you decide. Brutus Beefcake can tell you a story, who is notoriously...
Maybe he used to, but couldn't tell you now.
Brutus actually filed a complaint with Vince McMahon telling him that Haku worked too stiff. He punched too hard. He laid in things a little too hard. Haku was informed of this complaint and obviously was not too happy with it.
I'd imagine so.
He went and actually, believe it or not, seeked out Brutus Beefcake. Went and found him, and he grabbed him again while he was in the shower, choked him and held him up in the air off his feet against the wall. Nobody intervened. I wouldn't either, out of sheer fear, until Hulk Hogan jumped in and calmed down Haku, because Hulk Hogan usually would calm most people down in the dressing room.
Is it possible that, like, if Haku, like, based on my knowledge of the man, if he were to, like, be stiff with me in the ring, I would probably thank him after and be like, thank you, sir.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to cut your losses, right? You're just like, yes, sir, may I have another, you know?
Yeah.
So now these are 2 big stories. So this last one happened, it was an encounter with police officers.
Jesus Christ.
In St. Louis. The year varies, but I found mostly 1987. So what happened was there's varying accounts of who started the fight, who came up to who really instigated it. Many people say Haku had nothing to do with the instigation, but once Haku is instigated, he's a crazy person. So he's going to go out and
once you light the fuse, you can't be mad if the dynamite explodes, right?
Exactly. So a barroom brawl occurred. Police were obviously called because, there was probably multiple people in the fight. And when you see Haku kicking the shit out of someone, you don't really wait around to call the cops. So what happened was they showed up and shot Haku with mace. I have been in a location where mace was used. There was a robbery in a restaurant. I was at the back. It was sprayed. It made its way to the back. I couldn't imagine that being sprayed in my face.
I also know police officers, like guys who are now police officers, who in training, it was like you're getting shot with pepper spray or mace, and you are also going to get tased. And they said they would take tasing over pepper spray 100 times.
My dad,
100.
police officer for 37 years, I can confirm he told me the exact same thing. He said he would get tased multiple times before he ever took pepper spray again.
So here's what happened. They sprayed Haku with mace. Most people would go down. The story goes, and this has been witnessed by Rick Steiner and Ted DiBiase, Haku took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and continued to move forward, unfazed by the mace.
He wanted the deep breath was to get more mace.
Yes.
He was like, I don't have enough mace. I want to also, I want to inhale.
His sinuses are clogged. It was good for his sinuses.
He wanted the adrenaline bump.
So what happened was the cops, seeing this, went, oh shit, okay, new approach. And they calmed Haku down.
That was the new approach? I expected it to be like Swiss cheese type
baton
deal.
the shit out.
Yeah.
So they actually were able to get him in handcuffs. And then the men he was fighting with continued to instigate him. And at that point, his hands were behind his back, handcuffed. He looked at the cops and he says, is that all they got? And they go, please, sir, please stop. And he goes, are these the strongest handcuffs you have? And proceeded to break the handcuff chain into
Sweet Jesus.
And freed himself and proceeded to absolutely destroy the men who were instigating him once more.
Oh my God.
Now,
oh my God.
Our last story.
Oh Lord.
I'll sit around the.
I just want to say, like, anyone who's listening to this and is like, okay, this guy must be a fucking unit. Go and Google him. He's a big man, but he's not a man that you like see and you're like, oh, I'm not messing with that.
He's 6'1",
Well, actually,
275. Like he's
a big guy,
but we're not talking like you don't. I think you'd look at. He's shorter than Matt. He's my height. Like so. Yeah. I mean,
I know. I don't want everybody to think we're just telling you that wrestling are crazy people. It takes a certain special person to wrestle in the territory days.
Yeah,
the late
we're just
90s,
telling you we're telling you the
90s.
pinnacle of it. Like this is the Mount Everest of wrestling toughness that we are conveying to you here.
Now,
if you were going to make a Mount Rushmore of tough guys in wrestling history,
be on it.
It would be Haku, and then like 3 other guys that would be like, oh, Haku kicked our ass. Like,
now, our last story comes from 1989 in a airport in Baltimore.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
So there were 5 men that approached Haku, recognized him as a wrestler, approached him, and began every wrestler's.
I'm happy you're telling this story.
Every wrestler's favorite conversation: wrestling is fake, and you're a pussy, pretty much.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut you off real quick. So that's the thing. There's the people that say, "Oh, isn't it fake?" And then there's the people who assume the guys who do it
are fake tough.
Are fake tough, or aren't tough, or don't do, or think they're tough. Continue.
So what happened was Haku stood up at this point, and people said as clear as day, looked at all 5 men and said, I'll show you how fake it is. And he proceeded to grab the man who told him wrestling was fake by the throat, which led to 3 of the other men jumping him. So if you're counting at home, that's 4-on-1. Haku ended up knocking those 3 men out clean. 1 shots, apparently. Go figure. And then proceeded to apply the Tongan death grip on one of the other men.
That's awesome.
And for those of you playing the home game, the Tongan death grip is a hand underneath your opponent's chin. You grab a pressure point above the throat, which cuts off all air supply, and usually that person passes out. So picture a man's giant hand.
It's a guillotine choke with 1 hand.
Christ.
So it gets better. It gets better. He proceeds to buckle up, Jordan, if you haven't heard this story, to bite the nose off the man who made the initial comment of wrestling is fake.
Well, no way. Come on.
And then spit it out
This
on
has
the
been
airport
told in
floor.
multiple interviews for the record.
I mean, as a famous other wrestling podcaster, Bruce Pritchard, would say, tell a phone, tell a friend, tell a wrestler. It kind of gets lost in translation, but this is the one story that has stayed consistent throughout the years. They said he bit off his nose. There's varying accounts of this guy was 300 pounds that he bit the nose off of. This guy was just nothing. But either way, he bit a man's nose off.
Crazy. Okay.
Fought off 5 men.
God damn.
Now, the one believable part that kind of lends itself to it being a very true story is that later on, Haku was sued for $2.5 million.
In 89?
You don't sue somebody for $2.5 million.
How much do they think
89.
wrestlers are worth?
I mean, if you bite his nose off, you need some pretty big surgery, I guess,
That's
right?
fair.
Now,
yeah.
That lends me to believe that it is a very true story because you're not going to sue someone for that amount of money for not biting your nose off.
Yeah, okay.
Especially in 89.
So, I mean, this first edition of Lite Side of the Ring, I really wanted to shed light on wrestling is not fake. It is very real in the fact that these guys put their bodies on the line. It takes a very tough person to do this. And what they do outside of the ring shows you it takes a little bit of crazy, but also a certain level of toughness to do this. Now,
Jesus.
Jordan, I lend it to you now. Matt, you could jump in as well. Do you believe these stories? Do you think Haku is as tough as they say?
I take back what I said, I guess. I mean, if like multiple accounts, if enough people say it, like that's a lot of kayfabe to keep going over the years. So I'll allow it. I have no problem saying it. I have no desire to speak ill of the man. I feel like from the grave, he'd probably kick my ass. So yeah, I mean,
he's still going.
Good.
He's still in Japan. He's still going.
Pardon me?
He's still going.
Oh my God, wait a minute.
He's not dead.
This is the Haku from Bullet Club?
Yes.
You didn't know that?
I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I thought you were talking about frilly, like crazy hair.
That's the same one.
That's the same guy?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Oh, shit. He's the one who carried out Prince on his shoulders for the Bullet Club days.
No.
Yeah, for the book club.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
No, that's a different guy.
That's a different guy.
That's a different guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I thought that's who you meant. And I'm like, no, that can't be.
Now,
Okay.
I don't know his really what he's doing in Japan now, but yeah, he's still active. He's still part of the Bullet Club, part of the firing squad. Yeah. So Haku.
According to Wikipedia, on a quick search, yes, he is still active.
So that is the end of our story. Haku, the toughest man in wrestling. I hope with all the other stories, for those of you who don't believe wrestlers are tough, that wrestling is fake, that this is all acrobatics and scripted, it takes a certain special someone to be a wrestler. And I hope next time we do this, I have another fun story for you. We're going to look at what they called in wrestling folklore as the plane ride from hell.
Awesome. Okay. Can't miss the next one.
So
That's gonna be good.
we leave you with that. You can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram.
I'm gonna interrupt.
Oh,
Just go and Google Haku and read these
Yeah,
stories.
do some homework. What else are you doing nowadays?
Because honestly, you're gonna rabbit hole this, and it's worth it. Pat, do the outro. I am sorry.
so again, you can follow us on Untapped at Pat Gani, at JSco55, at Gani Matt with 2 T's. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. Go check out our live, watch along from the Royal Rumble. Hilarious. Jordan cries pretty much all the time and makes you laugh. And you're going to buy local. You're going to drink local. You're going to support local businesses. And you're going to be back next week for another episode of Bros, Bumps, and Beers.